Hello everyone, welcome to today's Knowledge webinar, What's New in Vectorworks 2021. And today we will start introducing our webinar presenter. Jonathan Pickup is a trained architect, and he lives in New Zealand, and he's also been trained in the UK, and he has over than 30 years of experience. He has been writing and producing Vectorworks manuals and providing customer support for more than 20 years. His company, write this down, ArchonCAD, is the premier provider of third-party manuals and training resources for Vectorworks. He offers monthly webinars for Vectorworks and maintains the Visual Knowledgebase for Vectorworks. In this webinar, Jonathan will be looking at the new tools and techniques that, according to him, are the most important, like some of the basic productivity tools, architectural tools, annotation, and landscape tools. And let me tell you a little bit about Knowledge and what we do. Knowledge is changing the way designers purchase 3D software, offering more choices, more freedom, best advice, faster services. And you can check us at knowledge.com. And as I mentioned in our communication previous to this webinar, people registered to today's webinar will receive a $100 coupon to redeem when purchasing a Vectorworks permanent license. So I will upload the coupon code in the chat window. Yeah, you can use it directly in the checkout cart, or you can email us at calvin@knowledge.com with any questions or quote request. And if you're interested in other products, we may be able to provide discounts on those as well. So feel free to contact us with any inquiries. And now enough about me and Knowledge. I will share Jonathan's screen for your delight. Let me just do this quickly. Jonathan, you should be able to share your screen. Here
that should be my screen.
Yep.
It's interesting when I hear your introduction, Barbara. Someone asked me the other day when I started using Vectorworks. It was 1992.
Wow. Yeah, just yesterday.
Next year we should have a celebration.
Yeah, we should.
Okay, so this is Vectorworks 2021. I've got several files open that should help us to understand the things that I think are important in Vectorworks 2021. So some of the things haven't changed a lot. I know they've made some changes to the door objects, but they're not, so lots of my clients want to know whether they are massive changes like window, which a lot of people like, but you can't get. No, but let's start with some of the simple things. So this is the rectangle tool. Let's have a look at the rectangle tool in 3D. There's a new mode on the rectangle tool, which is this one here, the push-pull combine tool. So the way that this works, and it's not just that tool that has it, when I extrude an object like this, which we've been able to do in the past, this new mode here, when we use it, if you draw on the face of the object, I better make sure I'm in automatic working plane. So when I draw on the face of my object, if I come away from the object, let's make that just about 8 inches, 10 inches, 250 millimeters. When I come away from the object, Vectorworks will now automatically or instantly add those together. You'll notice up here, this has now become a solid addition. It's no longer having to hold down the Option or the Alt key to do it. If I'm just going to shell the inside. This isn't new, but I want to shell the inside anyway. Shell the inside, let's make it 8 inches. This is my inside. Now I go back to this. So now I'm going to go back to my rectangle tool. I'm going to create a rectangle across here. And this time I'm going to go into my object. And it's straight away instantly push-pull. It's made a hole in it, which you can now see because I can see through it. Now these are the new ways of Vectorworks using the 3D modeling. If I go to this object here, now I should have done this before I did my shell solid, because it's going to cut through it. But you can now instantly draw on the face of an object, instantly grab hold of it, pull that away. This is quite a cool way of working now. It's a very quick, very fast way of doing it. And that's new, but if you want to add something to the front of an object, so I've just finished my movies for my foundation course, and one of the things I learned was when I was doing the bracket example, I do a little bracket. It's a little bracket like this, and I put a circle on top and I extrude it. But if I put a circle on here and I extrude the circle, and I come down here, instead of adding those two together, it actually takes them away. Let me do that again. I didn't try it using the holding down the Alt key to see if I can get around it. So I might just try that and see if that works. So pull that down to there, hold down the Option or the Alt key. It still subtracts. It doesn't stop it happening. And the only way to really stop it happening is to turn off, when you're in the circle mode, turn off that mode there. When you turn that off, then you can drag it along and it won't add it together, but later on you can add solid to that. So that's just one thing to look out for, I think. It's going to speed up 3D modeling enormously, this ability to just instantly add, instantly subtract. When you know it's there, it works really well. There's just the one time I think you've got to be careful where that just doesn't work quite as well. Or it not doesn't work as well, but it can catch you out, and that's what it did to me. It sort of caught me out. Now, one of the main features I found with Vectorworks is this smart options. To me, this is a real productivity gain. The smart options, I don't know if anyone can see it, but there are 4 little things that have just turned up. One there, one there, one there, and one there. These turn up when I put my space bar down. Right-click on the toolbar. I don't remember this working before, but right-click on the toolbar and you can go to your Vectorworks preferences. We've got Edit, Display, we've got a Smart Options, and here you can choose what tools you want to appear. So for example, if you've got a standard keyboard, you may want to change this to the snapping palette so that you can quickly check your snaps when you want to, and you can leave the snapping palette closed when you don't want to see it. Previous tools is really handy. I've actually created my own little palette that I like to use, and it's got tools on it that I want, and it's just a standard palette. I've just created a little standard palette, and I've added it to that top left corner. So when I go to it, you'll see it's a lot smaller than the previous one. It's got a couple of my customized tools, but it's got the things that I find that I don't remember the keyboard shortcuts to. Now, I remember the keyboard shortcuts to lots of things like move tool or move object, move by points, sorry, it's called. But this move by points, I remember the keyboard shortcut for that. I've customized it to make it really quick to use because I use it a lot. That means I don't have to think about it. The principle behind this is that by putting the tools close to your cursor, your eye doesn't have to leave where you are. Your mind doesn't have to change to go look for something. And so it can keep you focused on your work, making you more productive. As I said, I've just got a very small number. I've got a couple of 3D tools I use quite a lot and some 2D tools I use a lot. But it's very, very fast, very customizable. You can choose your options, how to trigger it. So some people have it after mouse idles for 2 seconds or 1 second. I just use it with the space bar. You can use it with the middle mouse wheel button, but don't forget that that's also the pan tool. So you might want to be careful about using that particular way. There's a quick search function in Vectorworks now. I think it's under Tools, Quick Search. We want to look for walls. And it brings up all the things that relate to walls, wall schedule. So there's a whole lot of things. This is quite a handy little utility, this quick search. I'd wonder whether we need a key to activate it. It'll be quite handy. I've got a Excel file on my screen, so I'm just going on my other computer screen, so I'm just going to go through it. Yeah, the detachable tool palette. So I didn't realize I needed detachable tool palettes until it occurred to me that we normally have to look at classes and layers separately. Now, it's not so bad in this particular file, but let's go to a file where there's a lot more layers and classes. And this is quite nice because it allows you to see all of your classes and all of your layers together. You can also drag some of these out. If I don't want to see that anymore, I don't use reference files very often, I can remove it. This is my viewport, so I hardly ever use this one. I'm going to remove that as well. Oh, sorry, that was save views. I do use save views, so I better bring that back. Window, palettes, save views. So there's my save views, and I can put that back where I wanted it there. But usually I use save views from this pull-down menu anyway, so I could easily get rid of it. Viewports, I don't use these very often. You can drag them out and then close them if you don't want them. And shape and data would be really handy to see both at the same time. So I can see the data attached to an object and I can see my shape at the same time. So if I select an object like this, I can see the shape of it. I can see the data. Of course, I've got more palettes open. Maybe I need a bigger screen, but if I do have another screen, I could just drag all of these onto the other screen. I could have all the palettes open, so it could be quite handy. But for today's presentation, I'm going to put them back. And you'll notice that when you put them back, you can choose where they go. So you can now reorder these palettes and put them back in the order that you want. We're so used to having the classes first. I just grab it by the tab, and then I can locate it in there. I can move its position along if I want. And so those are really handy. As I said, I didn't think I needed them until I could have them. And now I'm really quite happy with those. The ability to do those things together is quite nice. We need to look at our smart markers. I've got here a drawing and a design layer all at the same time. So I'm looking at a sheet layer and a drawing layer together. And I wanted to look at the floor plan of this one. So click there. You can see it's my active one, it's gone blue. And let's look at my foundation plan. There it is there, and there's my smart marker. So I'll just bring that and make that the front view. So there we are, there's my foundation plan. If I double click on this, I'm going to delete that particular label. No, just the label, thank you. There we are. And I'm going to look at my markers. So annotation. Now there's several smart markers now. They've changed things like the drawing label. I'm going to change this to another drawing label type. I'll use that one. So this is a pretty standard drawing label. I see there's some questions coming through. I'm wondering if it's possible to create parametric objects. Absolutely, you can do that. Not for today, we're not going to cover that. If you don't see the push-pull mode for the rectangle tool, change to a 3D view. You don't see it when you're in a top plan view. Do I use a customized workspace all the time? Let's just go back to the this tool here. So this is the standard drawing label, and we used to be able to choose whether we had the scale, whether we had the note, whether this line was fixed automatically, automatically be the one length. But we were limited to what we could actually do with these things. So in Vectorworks 2021, one of the things they have changed is they've changed nearly all of the markers to what they're calling smart markers. So this is a drawing label style. So that's my own one. I've already customized that one. This is the one I've just used. Right click, let's edit this, and we will edit the drawing label layout. So this is the layout for my drawing label, which means that I can move this to a different place if I want. I can move the title somewhere else if I want. And when I do that, it affects what we see on my screen. So let's exit that, and you can see it's changed those parts. Let's edit this again. Let's say I don't want that, and I want that to be something else, or I don't want it. I want to get rid of that circle. I want that to go here, and I want this to go there. And I might want some other piece of text on there as well. So I'm just going to make a copy of that. And now we have the ability to say, let's get automatic text. Let's define the text label. So this is very similar to the way we create title blocks. We also had the data tag. This is very similar to the data tag. I don't want it to be the scale. I want it to be something else. Maybe we want that to be the drawing. We've done drawing number, custom scale note, label length, printed length, sheet number, scale factor. It would be nice to have something else like the design layer or the sheet layer. I'll just put sheet number on there. And then hopefully that'll bring all the information up. When we exit the viewport, that might give me what I want. Also, if we don't like that label, I can swap that label with another one. Sorry, here's my style just here. I'm going to replace that style. Where's the one I do like? I've gone to some trouble setting this up. And I'm going to go, okay, that's my foundation plane. You notice it's quite small. It's just the size that I want. It's got the graphic style I want. It's got the fonts that I want. So I've had quite a lot of control over which parts of that label have got which fonts, how long the lines are. When we edit those lines, we've now got the ability, let's edit this one. Oh, that one. So one of the other things that I've changed with these smart markers is that this piece of text here, this title, it's got one of these little green constraints. This is from, where do they hide? Constrain, coincident. In Vectorworks, we've always, well, for a long time, we've had these constrained objects, constraining things to other locations, constraining things by length, constraining things by vertical distance. And so we've got something similar to that here, where the start of this text is constrained to the start of this line. So wherever I click that line, that'll start that. But the other thing that happens is there's a length of text here. The end of this line is constrained by the end of the text. As the text gets longer, that line will get longer. Same thing here, and you'll notice this in a lot of these smart tools, this constraining the text to the end. It works really well. So don't forget about those things. I really like these. They've made it a lot more flexible, and I really quite like it. I'd like to have a look at, let's go back to this foundation plan, and I want this one here to be looking at my elevations. Okay, so there are my elevations. You notice that I've got grid lines on my elevations, which are quite nice. There's a new Gridline tool. Oh, so let's activate that one. Let's choose the grid line. So there's my grid. So I'm going to put a grid line here. And the grid line turns up there. So putting a grid line in my plan makes those grid lines turn up in my elevations. If I move the grid line, it moves here. So these are really quite cool. Finally, we've got this ability to put grids in our plan view and have them automatically turn up in our elevations. When I go to select one of those, what's the name? I better just check the name of this viewport. This is elevation A, okay. So if I look at this viewport, I can choose grid line instances, which is a little bit like section line instances that you have. So if I turn off that, let's click OK, and you'll notice although my grid line is still here in the plan, I've turned it off in that elevation. If I turn it back on again, let's turn on elevation A. It'll turn on in that elevation. Now I've had trouble getting them to turn on in sections. And I don't know if it's something I've done, but when I look at the grid line instances here, I have trouble with this grid line instance making it appear in the section. You see my section is grayed out, and it might be because my elevation or my section is not perfectly perpendicular to my grid lines, these two here. So I do need to go back and check those to make sure that they're perpendicular. If you don't make your section cuts perpendicular, I wanted that one to be there and that one to be back there. If this line is not perfectly perpendicular, it won't appear in that view. So let's just make it ever such a small amount. And you'll notice straight away it disappeared. As soon as it's non-perpendicular, it disappears. My group had a bit of a discussion about this, and the feeling was that, well, if it wasn't perpendicular to the view, how would Vectorworks know where to display it? This point, at that point, where would be the logical place? So it kind of makes sense, but it's something to watch out for, particularly if you're dealing with rotated views. What's next? Oh, someone asked about these section lines. These section lines are also now smart objects. If we have a look, this is an unstyled one. If I change this to a styled one, let's replace it with one of the standard styled ones. And someone asked the other day, what happens if I change the angle of that? What happens to the line in the text? And you can see the line in the text have stayed there, readable, even though I've changed the angle of it, which is a really nice trick. I think that's all I want to say about the smart markers. I think I've covered that. Of course, Vectorworks have increased the Vectorworks graphics module, speeds up drawing. You won't notice it, but it's a really nice thing that it's sped up. Move. Now I want to get back to my 3D model, wherever it's gone. I think I made this earlier on. One of the things I've changed in the 3D modeling, I've covered the smart tools, or the instant push-pull, but this is also quite new. Right-click on part of your object. Now I can either edit the object, which takes me straight in to the drawing. Someone's asked a question about smart markers. Sorry, Bo, I'll come back to that if that's all right, Bo, in a second. Just please remind me. So when we do edit, we can either edit the model, and this is the standard thing that we do, where we go edit solid, and then it takes us inside, then we go right-click and we edit the next bit. But the new thing in Vectorworks 3D modeling, which I think is really powerful, is the ability to right-click on an object like this and choose Edit Features. And now it should take me in to edit that part of it. So let's go to Extrude. So I'm now inside that extruded object. I can now edit that extruded object. I can change the shape. I can round the corners. I can do all kinds of stuff to it. You still have to step out. You still have to go through all the parts of stepping out. But it is a lot quicker to get you into that to edit it. So you go right-click, you go Edit Features, and right-click. So now once you're inside Edit Features, you can choose this feature. Do you want to edit that feature? 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 And it takes you right into the feature that you want. Now the keyboard shortcut to exit all of these quickly is the Command or the Control key and the close square bracket. So it's really quick if you do that. I don't know if you guys noticed how quickly it was, but I don't know if you heard my keyboard, but I just bashed my keyboard and I jumped straight out of that. Bo was asking about back referencing. I need a detail to back reference. Have I got a section? Let's go to my section. Bo, I need a detail to look at as well, so I better find a detail that I can use. I don't think these drawings are set up properly for details. Foundation detail. I think there's only one viewport, Bo, for all of my details, which is a bit naughty of me, I know. Let's just have a look. I think that's one detail, and it's not even a detail, it's a PDF page. So I'd need a detail to do it. Can you do it? You certainly can. Let's go here. I think I've got a section I can look at. First of all, I'll find a detail that I might want to use. Let's look for a roof detail. Roof 3D, wall details, one of those will do. Okay, so we've got Etapan detail 2 on 040. Let's go to my section. Etapan detail, so it's one of these. If I double click that, am I in the annotation part of the viewport? I am. No, I've put that on a design layer. So what I'm going to do is the other thing that's improved, Bo, is where's it gone? My detail call out. So my detail call out, let's change the angle. This one here, let's make it about 6 inches. So let's click there and click there. And that's my object. This is also one of the smart markers, and this smart marker, you can also change the style. So you can replace the style, you can edit the style. I've actually started customizing these as well. But the thing I wanted to show you, Bo, was that if I grab that handle, I can move the label anywhere I want, which I think is really nice. So we can put that in. Now that's not back referencing, I know that. So let's go back to, what sheet number is this one? This is sheet 21. I need to find one of these details really. Let's go and see if we've got sheet 21. No, what number is that? Sheet 42, have we got 42? I might not have the sheet, but yes, oh, there it is, I just saw it, 42. Okay, so that's my slab thickening, there's my slab foundation, there's my label. This label's giving me this drawing number here, which I don't like very much. So what I'm going to do is, we're going to create a new plugin from that style. It's a drawing label style, and we're going to edit the layout. And this one here, Bo, I'm going to change that one. And that one wants to be, delete that. There's one called back reference. Okay, exit that. Okay, that. And that should give me my back reference. Now, I haven't included the back reference up here. Back reference number. So when I go out of my viewport, what I need to do with my viewport is to tell it where the back reference goes to. So it should go to sheet, this one here. We're going to choose all objects defining the viewport. We're going to put one of those on. Sorry, all objects linked. Okay. So that should have brought up my back reference, shouldn't it? I did this on another drawing, but the answer is yes, you can do it. So I just don't know whether I need to put that in again in order to make it work, but it should bring up. Let me try just choosing one of them. Select objects from list. Oh, come on, now it's misbehaving. How about that? Just choosing one of them, and it should turn up. So the short answer is, does it work? Yes. I just can't do it right now. Let's move on. So I've covered move by points. It's one of the tools that I quite like changing. Duplicate array is now updated to use a working plane, which can be quite handy. We can now change the interactive appearance settings for light and dark backgrounds. So when we go to interactive and we look at our interactive appearance settings, if you're using a dark background, you can change all of the colors separately from a light background. I tend to use a light background. It's the way I've learned Vectorworks, so I'm not going to change that too much. I found this the other day. I didn't think it was a big thing until I talked to other people, and they thought it was quite nice. I quite often duplicate a class. Now, the problem I've got with duplicating a class is that when I duplicate, if I duplicate lighting, for example, I used to get lighting -2. And when I went to edit it here, it wouldn't allow me to edit it because of the dash was creating another group. Well, I've gotten rid of the hyphen, the dash, and they just put the number 2, which means that now you can instantly edit that class. I know it's a small thing, but it was just frustrating in the past. And it's just one of those tiny things that I didn't realize was there until I started playing with it. And I just think it's a really nice little technique. I think we've looked at the 3D modeling techniques that we've changed. And the edit feature, I've just looked at that. So the next thing is materials. Someone said that you can also use the layer pop-out to exit quickly in the 3D model. I was not really a fan of that to start with. Let me go edit feature. We'll edit that one. And you can click here and you can jump out. I tend to use the button here, and I tend to use the keyboard shortcut most often. What other comments have we got? Someone wants me to describe back referencing. It's where you can the detail tells someone who's reading the drawings where that detail is located in plan sections or elevations. In other words, where's the original place for that detail reference. It is very handy, Bo. I know I can't make it work, but it does work. Let's go to this one. Some slight changes to the windows and doors. I know it probably takes a lot to do the windows and doors. There are some slight changes to the sliders and to the barn door. I didn't want to focus on those too much. One of the things I would like to talk about is the new materials. And I think the new materials is going to be a big improvement in Vectorworks. In the past, we've used textures or classes to control textures, or we've used classes on objects. The challenge comes when you've got something like this wall. We want this wall, and that wall to have the same material as these columns. They're different objects, and I might want to display them at different times. So I end up making multiple classes to turn them on and off or to control the textures on them. The materials, I think, are going to be a powerful feature. If I select that column, go to my settings, and I select my shape, I now have the ability to choose the material that's being applied to that particular object. So the material has a texture part, texture component, what this material looks like in a hidden line render, and what this material looks like when it's cut through. So it's the 3D view, the rendered view, the 3D hidden line view, and the cut through view. It means I can apply the same texture to both my walls and to my columns, so I can make them appear in 3D to look identical. So this wall here has got a component. I don't think I used a style for this, but you have to use components if you want to use textures. So this particular component here, let me just open this. And you'll notice here that I've got the material here. I've said use materials, I've given a thickness to it, and it's also metal steel galvanized. So the material controls the fill and the texture. So I've applied the same material to both the walls and the columns. Now, if I want to change the material from galvanized to something else, I need to change in two places. But if I just want to edit the material, I've now got a thing for materials. Better look at what you get. Let's change this material. So I'm going to edit my material. And although it's galvanized steel, I want it to have a different texture. I want it to look like shiny steel. And you'll notice that all the materials or all the objects that have the same material have been updated, which I think is quite a nice trick. I think that it's going to take us a little while to understand where we're going to use materials, how we're going to use materials, but I think that they're a powerful move forward in Vectorworks. I really think that materials are going to change the way we think about using classes particularly. So we'll use maybe less classes. The classes will be used more to control the visibility of objects rather than the three-dimensional texture presentation. We might still use classes to control graphic style and plans. Anyway, it's just my thoughts. I think we've got a lot of learning to do about materials yet. So I think it's one of the things we'll come back to again and again. We do have the ability to edit the material. If we go edit, I skated over a whole lot of the stuff. So we've got the material, we can choose the fill. We can look at the construction. What's it made of? Who's the manufacturer? Does it have a reference? What about the physical properties? So since materials have this ability to have the physical properties, the modulus of elasticity, the yield strength, the mass, somewhere down here was the mass of it. Something about kilograms per, here it is, the density. So what's the density of steel? It's probably, 2.5 tons a cubic meter. So you can put that information in. I'm wondering, I haven't tried it yet, but I'm wondering whether we can now start to calculate or start to schedule materials on the building. So we can now start to say, create reports where we're looking for objects by the materials. I suspect we can do that. We can also then start to calculate maybe weights of things, volumes of things. I think it could be really quite powerful. And you can add your own custom fields to these if you want, so that you could add your own information to materials. I think it's as I said, I think there's a lot to learn about these. I think it's a huge leap forward. I've covered the grid line, I think. How are we getting on for time, Barbara?
Let me see now.
Okay. Now I think the the last thing I want to talk about is some site modeling stuff. Let me just have a look at my notes. I'm not sure if we've got any site modeling people here, but I wanted to look at site modeling. So site modeling, when we look at the three-dimensional view of a site model, this hasn't changed very much. We still have the ability to smooth it. We've got the ability to do cut and fill calculations. None of that's really changed very much. But one of the tools that has changed a lot is the landscape area tool. Now I'm going to need to change to a landmark workspace. It's not a, it's always taking ages. Oh, finally. Okay. So the landscape area tool has changed a bit. Let's just have a look at its options. So the dialog box has changed. I'm going to convert this to an unstyled. So we still have the ability to put in the landscape area, but what they've done is they've changed this dialog box. They've made it one of the sort of what you might call the modern dialog boxes, so that we've got plant information, graphics, display. All of this used to be in one place, and it was a big dialog box. And now we've gone to the sort of column or palette pane-based dialog box. So we still have the ability to give it a name. This is my mulch area. I'm going to put down some topsoil. I'm going to put some mulch on top of it. Do we want a tag? No, I don't want to have a tag. So I use tags these days. Do we want a class for the tag? Don't really worry. So we're going to have that information. We can put plants in if we want. We can put in the distribution rate. I'm not going to add plants at the moment. We can have graphics. We can randomize the plants. So a lot of these are the same as they were. This is new though. Show plants in 2D. In the past, we couldn't show plants in 2D. We'd just see the plants. We'd just see a general area. I haven't tried it yet, but I suspect it could add a little bit of time if it's a very large area. And 3D. 3D, show plants in 3D, that's not new. But this display as 3D polygon or display as texture bed, these are new. I'm going to display as a 3D polygon, see what we get. And I'm going to look at this new button here, Edit Components. So I think this is new. The components allow us to choose. I'm just going to delete these. And let's edit this one. So what should we call this one? We'll call this my mulch. So this is my mulch. What class is it? Have I got one called mulch? Yeah, let's put some mulch in there. Can we use a material? Let's have a material. We need a material called mulch. I think I better look for one. There's one there. I'll use that mulch there. How thick is it? Let's make it about 10 inches, 6 inches thick, so 150 millimeters. And I can choose the color and stuff like that. So that gives me my mulch. I can now choose whether the mulch is defined to the top or the bottom, which is quite cool. So in other words, this is going to sit on the top of my mulch will sit on the top of my landscape area. If I do that, the bottom of the mulch is going to sit on the top of my site model. Let's go new, let's make some topsoil. So I've decided that in order to do this, I need a class for this, landscape. Do I have a landscape area? Landscape and topsoil, okay. So I need a material. We got some soil, let's have a look for soil. Soil, that'll do, and okay. Thickness, this is going to be about 10 inches, so 250 millimeters. So now I can choose, is the bottom of the topsoil sitting on the top of my site model, or is the top of my topsoil sitting on my site model? The other thing that's going to happen is this is also going to give me the ability for this topsoil to subtract the area of my site model affecting my cut and fill calculations. So let's draw some. So landscape area, click to start, click over here, click to start. And I'm drawing a square object. Don't forget, everyone, the K key to close. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but we've been able to do this for ages. It's not new, but it does make it quick. So let's have a look at this in 3D. That's my landscape area. Now what we should be able to do is send that to my site model. There it is there. We're going to update. Cool. So this is my landscape area down the bottom. And you'll notice that it's actually cut a hole in my site model. If we look at our cut and fill calculations, that mulch area that I put in has affected my cut and fill calculations. Now the reason you can't see it, I don't know if anyone remembers, but when I looked at my landscape area, where's it, landscape grass, mulch, I had those turned off. So now what you can see is you can see my mulch sitting on top of my site model and my topsoil cutting into it. Now if I delete this object and select my site model, so just have a look here, I've got some cut and fill calculations. Let's update this now. Update my cut and fill calculations. And you'll notice there are no cut and fill calculations anymore. There's no cut volume. So that landscape area you can now use as an object that will add or subtract from your site model, affecting your cut and fill calculations, which I think is pretty cool. You can't use it as a flat surface. It is like a texture bed. It does just sit directly on top of the site model. And the other thing I was going to cover was the grade object. Vectorworks have talked about this grade object being a network, being able to create a network. I'm pretty sure in the past you could always, we're going to change the site model. I'm going to start by using the heights from the site model to start with. I'm pretty sure in the past you could always just connect a couple together. And you'll notice that I've only got one number at the end now. There's only one number here. If I move that grade object, so let me select that. Let me select that one. If I move that blue handle there, you notice it's moving both grade objects, which is quite cool. If I change these grade objects, I better select them both. If I change these to change the site model, they become site modifiers. And now when I change the height of this one, so let's go back to that one, the slope is going up. Let's change that grade object. Elevation 2 is this one here. Let's make that one, we'll just take a few hundred millimeters off that one. So minus 12 inches or minus 300 millimeters. So that's pushed that one down. It's also pushed the end of this one down. When I update my site model, we should see a change in my contours, particularly in my site model if I change to smoothed, and my resource manager's in the way now. Proposed. So you can see it's now started to affect my site model. If I select that grade limit again, if I select this grade object and I move it, it'll allow me to move. Sometimes I have trouble selecting these. There it is. Now there's two dots here. This dot is for the number. This is for the end of my grade limit. Let's move it down there. You notice they both move. Update my site model and they'll be done. So Barbara, that's probably all I wanted to cover at the moment. I see we're getting close to the end of time anyway. I'm just having a look to see if there's any questions. I think there's a whole lot of questions, which I didn't see. Oh, Bo, I forgot to add the definition tag. Yeah, you're probably right. It's one of the tricks I always forget with that, is the forgetting to add that to the definition, and then I can't remember why it doesn't work for me. To get back reference, you need to select add to definition. Yeah, a couple of people have found that. Do you think materials can be used to call up finishes? I really think they could. I think that's it. As I said, Bo, I think that materials are a new thing, completely new thing. I know a lot of people have asked for materials in the past. You know, why doesn't material do, you know, why don't we use materials? But I think the way they've implemented it is going to be a little bit of a learning experience for all of us, and that as we learn more, we're going to find that the materials are more useful than we thought they would be. Yeah, so everyone managed to pick my problem with the back referencing not working. And I think that's about it, Barbara. Oh, maybe my website. Don't forget, everyone, my Visual Knowledgebase. Some people, when they, so one of the things I've said, when people join this, they get a copy of my Vectorworks Foundation course, which I've now included in my Visual Knowledgebase. And if those of you that are subscribers, you might want to have a look through these. These movies have now been updated to Vectorworks 2021. We get together every month for sessions like this. I know some of you are subscribers, so thank you very much for coming. And I hope everybody learned something. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. This was most helpful. I want to take the screen back just to let everybody know where to find the Vectorworks entire line of products on noveg.com. And I want to remind everybody that I share with them in the chat tab here on the control panel the coupon code with the $100 discount for any Vectorworks permanent license. Please contact Calvin at noveg.com. Calvin is our Vectorworks expert. He can help you with Vectorworks purchase or any other Vectorworks companion that we have on the website. And thanks again for joining us today. This was wonderful, Jonathan. I'm sure everybody appreciated your run through of this new basic features. And looking forward for the next Q&A with Jonathan. That will be on a Tuesday coming up, I think, by the end of the month. Look on our website for more information.
Yep.
Have a great...
And don't forget to bring your... Don't forget to send your questions for that one. It's much easier if you send your questions ahead of time. Some people actually email their questions in.
Yeah.
So get in touch with Barbara, email the questions in. Barbara, thanks for having me.
Yeah, Barbara at noveg.com. Start sending your questions, and Jonathan will have much more time to respond in depth. Thanks again. Have a great rest of the day, everybody. Bye-bye.